Hey guys, and welcome to episode 6 of 6. This is the last video in my 6 steps to writing a screenplay series, and we're workshopping our scenes. Now it may be that you have scenes you're not in love with, so this might be a way to turn those around, but equally it's worth going through these motions on all of your scenes just to make sure they're working as hard as they can be. What you're essentially doing is giving yourself as much information about the scene you've put together, so you have a strong foundation from which to analyse it and make changes. So I start with a 5-step process which Robert McKee outlines in Story. Step 1. Define the conflict. Who drives the scene and what do they want? Then, what force of antagonism is blocking it, and why? The force of antagonism could be as simple as a locked door, but presuming it's 2 characters arguing, make sure the conflict is true to those characters' goals, serves momentum in the plot, and can be used to reveal information about the characters. Next, we note the opening value. Identify the story value at play, and then see how it sits at the start of your scene. Is it in a positive or negative state? Justice or injustice? Happy or sad? Strong or weak? Then you want to break the scene into beats, which is essentially each time the energy or behaviour changes. You might have a beat where your character is pitching to another. It then becomes a different beat when he starts pleading, and another when the other character finally tires of the exchange and becomes aggressive. Now note the scene's closing value. If its charge is the same as when you started, then there's your first major issue to resolve. If the scene represents no emotional change, then why is it there? If the answer is exposition, then lose it and hide the exposition somewhere else, or make the scene work emotionally to justify its existence. Finally, with your polarised value charges at each end of the scene, survey the beats and locate the turning point. There will be a moment where there is a major change, where things make a sharp shift from positive to negative or vice versa. This is your scene event. Now there's a lot you can already do with this information. If you start with a positive and end with a negative, is there anything you can do to pull those values further from one another? This can be as simple as finding a way to make your characters happier at the start of a scene to give them further to fall. Also note how long each beat is. Perhaps you're spending too long on a single behaviour or level of energy, which is making the scene drag. There's also a lot of work you can do on the turning point itself, and I'll be uploading a specific video dealing with turning points so you can properly analyse these and make sure they're working as they should. You can also look at where your scene fits in the overall plot. If you've already had 3 scenes in a row with positive to negative shift, then perhaps your positioning is out, and you need to have a negative to positive to make sure you're getting the right impact from your turn. Too many consecutive scenes with the same emotional direction will lose their effect. Look back at the plot outlines from episode 2 in this series. Does this scene roughly achieve what you're supposed to be doing at this point in the narrative? Or did you get distracted by an interesting side plot while we're supposed to be setting up your protagonist's world? You don't need to be a slave to these forms, but they can help you identify why a scene feels wrong. Once you're happy with the beats, the turning point, the positioning, and the function of your scene, you can really start to break it down into fine detail. I do this with a little spreadsheet. Down one side, you'll write out every element of the scene. Start with the location, then all your action and dialogue across the scene. Then, across the top, add a column for paraphrase, objective, what's at stake, backstory, ideas, and alternatives. Then go through each element of the scene and fill out each column. It's built for dialogue, but you can fill a lot in for locations and action as well. Under paraphrase, you want to write out the literal subtext for each piece of action or dialogue. What does that character explicitly mean by what they say or do? Like my previous example of, did you make that jumper yourself? There you might simply write, that jumper looks awful, or whatever meaning you apply given the context. A look or pause or gesture or any other action should be just as loaded with meaning as the speech, so you'll have no trouble filling that out. There may be subtext in the location too. Why are they meeting here? Did one character invite the other to their fancy apartment to show off their status? Or are they at the airport because there's a plot-based reason, like a flight to catch? If you can't think of a compelling reason for this scene to take place at this location, then could it take place somewhere with more meaning? Then for objective, what is each character's objective with their action or dialogue? What are they trying to achieve? Does their objective for each line serve their overall goal in the scene, and is it true to their character and their relationship with whoever they're talking to? For your location, I use this as a space to note why I as a writer put us here, rather than the character's decision to be there. It might be because of some symbolism or irony I like in that scene taking place in that location. Under what's at stake, remind yourself what each character stands to lose. If it's not compelling, could it be more? Do the stakes raise across the scene? Could they? They should be risking in pursuit of a reward. For backstory, you want to note down any possible backstory events that might be motivating each piece of behaviour. Do you think they lash out in a certain way because of something in their past? Or did they recently break up? Or did one have a crush on the other in school? Or they hooked up at an office party? Just note down any possible motivations for their dialogue, as well as thinking creatively about backstory elements you might include, which could change the way they act or react. Remember, you're looking for how to improve the scene. So if there's a line without much meaning behind it, does it add intrigue to swap that line out for something that suggests they already had bad blood? Can you use this to hide some exposition? Ideas is a place to collect your thoughts. You might find the columns we've just gone through have stirred up a bunch of half-baked side plots and characters' ulterior motives. This is where you can jot these down. Finally, we have a column for alternatives. This is a place to think outside the box and just throw in other ways to handle each moment in the script. So often when we write, we'll just be populating the speech and action with whatever feels most natural. But remember, you want to surprise your audience, so sometimes it can be more interesting to include the absolute opposite of what you'd write naturally. Perhaps you can shift the character's dynamics, or have one character wildly overreact. Then think about what could have motivated that behaviour, and work backwards from there. Write down at least 3 alternatives for each element, and you'll be surprised how often you find something unexpected that's more satisfying than what you already had. Now you have all this information written out, look for anything that doesn't satisfy you, and use the spreadsheet to think of interesting ways to improve it. You should be able to rebuild your scene afterwards with far more insight into what it's achieving and why it's worth keeping. If you're still not happy with your scene, it may be worth going over episode 5 in the series to see if you can use dialogue to resolve any remaining issues. But if not, don't be afraid to throw it out. The sad fact is that 90% of our work isn't our best, so it's up to us to only keep the top 10%. You will write some scenes that aren't great.
I don't like sand.
And you will write some scripts that aren't great.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
That's not failure, it's learning. If you can see success in the process, knowing that you can start afresh with the knowledge you've gained, then you only keep improving.
We're only interested in one thing. Can you tell a story, Bond? Can you make us laugh? Can you make us cry? Can you make us want to break out, enjoy a song? Is that more than one thing? Okay.
And on that, I'll say thank you for sticking with me across these 6 steps to writing a screenplay. I hope they've been as helpful for you to watch as they were for me to make. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. With this series done, I'll now be exploring some different formats, so if there's anything you'd like me to cover, then let me know. As always, if you disagree with anything I've said or want to add another perspective, please do so in the comments. Like you, I'm here to learn. Thank you all, and see you on the next one.